Mentally tough people are not tough because they have no fear, are not tough because they never feel nerves. Mentally strong people, mentally tough people feel those nerves, feel when they're going into a suicide cycle, recognize they're doing it, just as Dr. Nate said, and say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm flushing it down the toilet. I'm envisioning a stop sign and I'm switching modes. Like I'm literally switching lanes into memories and activities and thoughts that work for me. That is mental strength. I think that's a big concern that people have is, oh, and you address this in your misconception number 1. If I'm not born with it, I don't have it. No, mental strength is about learning how to ride and control those impulses. Did I get that right? I got really excited there. Did I get that right?
No.
Who are the world's most interesting people? And what fascinating, groundbreaking, incredible things can they teach us? In this new series, I leave our Science of People lab to interview my favorite authors, experts, and celebrities for them to share their best people hacks, social skills, and stories. And let me tell you, they have some juicy tips. This is a new series I'm calling The World's Most Interesting People.
Hello, YouTube friends. Today, I am so excited because we are going to be talking about mental toughness. I'm going to be talking to you about how to have a confident mind. And I want to welcome to the show, Dr. Nate Zinsser. Hello, Dr. Nate.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
Okay, so before I dive into all of my questions about how to build up our mind, I have to brag about you for a second. So Dr. Nate is a renowned performance psychology expert who has taught 3 generations of soldiers, athletes, and executives to master the art of confidence and mental toughness. Boy, do we need you today. Dr. Zinsser is the director of the performance psychology program at the United States Military Academy at West Point and has worked with 2-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning, as well as many Olympians, and has been a consultant for organizations like the FBI Academy and the New York City Fire Department. Welcome. It is such an honor to have you.
Well, I'm privileged to be here. I hope I can live up to my hype.
You already are doing it because I was so reading your book. I just was like, I need this in my brain. I need to share this information. The first thing I want to talk about is, what does it mean to have a confident mind? What do people with mental strength, mental toughness, how do they live, act, behave, and feel? What are the benefits of developing a confident mind?
Well, a confident mind is what allows your talent, your training, your determination to all express themselves at the moment of truth. Confidence, in my experience, is what makes a great performance possible. It's what makes possible the full expression of all your capabilities. It's not a guarantee, but at least it enables and gets everything ready to come out.
So this is really important for anyone who's watching who performs at work, leading meetings, being in front of a room for a presentation, hopping on a video call and taking charge. We have to be at the best of our ability in those moments. So the very first myth that you talk about, or I believe this is actually myth number 2, there's some misconceptions you tackle in the book. And myth number 2, it hit me hard. I was like, okay, we need to know that. Myth number 2 is that your confidence is not necessarily all encompassing. What do you mean by that? And how does that actually help us?
Well, we have this mistaken impression, perhaps, that, a confident individual is confident 24/7 and is confident no matter what she is doing. The truth of the matter is that confidence is a very situation-specific quality. One can be exceptionally confident on the tennis court, but very, very unsure of oneself in the swimming pool or on the golf course. One can be exceptionally confident in doing research and preparing a presentation, but very insecure in actually delivering said presentation, even though they're kind of the same subject or topic. So the important point to understand is, whatever you wish to be confident in, whichever aspect of your sport, your profession, your passion, whatever aspect of your experience you wish to become a more confident performer in, you can do that. It's a skill that you build.
Okay, so this was the reason why I breathed a sigh of relief when I read this in your book, is because it made me take the pressure off of myself. And it also made me realized it's okay to have areas where I feel very confident, and areas where I don't feel confident. In fact, a little activity that everyone can do at home. If you're feeling brave enough, get out a pen and paper and just make a list of the places where you feel like you're your most confident self, where you have a lot of strength, where you feel like, yes, I got this. And then make a list of the places where you wish you had more confidence, where you wish you felt tougher. I found that there was some patterns in my list. So that misconception is really important. But first, I want to go into the next thing, which I think the relief came even more when you explained in your book the difference between the sewer cycle and the success cycle. Can you talk to me about what happens? I'm so a victim of this, and I can't wait for you to share this.
Well, we've all heard the phrase, the mind-body connection, how somehow our mind or our mental experience finds an expression physically in what we do. And it's not particularly complicated. The collection of thoughts that you walk around with, or the collection of thoughts that you have in connection to a particular activity, to a particular part of your life, that collection of thoughts is going to influence your emotional state, whether you are worried, whether you are tense, whether you are somewhat afraid, somewhat insecure. That emotional state is connected neurologically to all kinds of parts of our physical being. It's going to change our muscle tension. It's going to change blood flow. It's going to change hormone production. It's going to influence our physical bodies in a number of ways. We are all incarnated beings. We may indeed be aspects of the divine, but here walking around on this rock, we are encased in this bag of skin, and everything we do through our body. So as our thought process affects our emotional state, which affects our physical state, then that is certainly going to affect our execution. Now, there may be some backward influences in that cycle, but as your thoughts create emotion, creates physical state, creates execution, and then we reflect on our execution, so it becomes something of a vicious cycle. So if your thoughts about something are, this stinks, I hate it, why do I have to do this, I never get this right, you are likely going to create an emotional state of worry and doubt and fear that is going to tighten the muscles, constrict the blood flow, constrict your vision, produce some flesh-eating hormones, and that is going to degrade your execution. You may be okay, but you'll never be at your best. And then you think about that poor performance, and it becomes a cyclic process. That's the bad news. That's the sewer cycle. We all know what goes down the sewer. The good news is that you have control over that repository dominant class of thoughts. And you can approach the same situation saying, let's see how good I can do with this. Here's an opportunity to improve. Here's an opportunity to make something happen. This is my chance. We can get hot now, even if your team is behind 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of the football game. Those thoughts tend to create emotional states of excitement and confidence. That emotional state is going to change your body in an opposite direction. It tends to relax the muscles somewhat. It tends to spread out the blood flow. It tends to open up the vision. And it tends to create some of those happy hormones, endorphins, et cetera, and that enables the best possible performance that you might have available to you at that moment. And of course, you think about that, so that becomes a success cycle. And we human beings are typically on one of those cycles, or we're on the other. And we flip back and forth from the sewer cycle to the success cycle and back hundreds of times a day. And what matters is, which one are you on the greatest amount of time? And very importantly, which one are you on when it's your moment to step into that meeting, lead that discussion, make that sales pitch, impress a client, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I loved your book because it broke down this process. So the very first thing that I want people to think about who are watching is, I want you to identify your sewer cycles and your success cycles. One of the things, the reason why I love that misconception number 2 is that I thought, well, to be confident, I have to be confident all the time, which now I know is a misconception. What was happening is when I didn't feel confident, if I felt socially awkward, if I walked into a room where I felt like I didn't belong, if I felt like I didn't have a good answer, I would get in my head and say, you should be confident about this. Oh, you're not confident about this. Oh gosh, I'm so anxious. I'm so bad at this. Oh, why I shouldn't be bad at this. And I would like the lack of not being confident all the time would create its own sewer cycle. So if you need to pause this video. I want you to think about what are those cycles, those thoughts that trigger that downward, I'm bad at this, I can't do this. And then second, and this is where I want to get really practical. So let's say, Dr. Nate, they can sense they're going into a sewer cycle. Maybe they didn't introduce themselves in the best way on a video call, or they feel like they flubbed their first few minutes in a presentation, and they can feel themselves going into downward cycle. What can they do in the moment to trigger those happy feelings, those happy hormones? What can they do in that moment?
Well, the important thing is to acknowledge the fact that your own mind is taking you down the wrong rabbit hole. Okay, you have to acknowledge it. You can't win a fight that you don't know you're in. So you have to acknowledge, hey, wait a minute, I'm feeding myself the wrong information. Let's stop it. And just as you tell your obnoxious sibling that you're in an argument with to stop, shut up, I'm not listening to this anymore, you have to find some way to do that yourself. A great old friend of mine, the late Ken Ravizza, who did a lot of this work in professional baseball, would literally bring a hand-size toy plastic toilet into the dugout of Major League Baseball teams, and it had a little lever, and it would make a flushing noise.
No.
All right, this is true. And it would be there in the dugout. And if a player had just come off the infield, having made an error, he would go, then he would flush it. If a player had a bad at bat, he would come back to the dugout and flush it. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to stop it somehow. Stop sign visualization, red flashing lights, the toilet, and then you have to replace it. You have to replace it with a statement about yourself. You have to replace it with a constructive memory. It helps to have done a lot of work on your memories so that you have a whole list of previous accomplishments, previous progressive steps, and you can say, no, I'm thinking this. This is my opportunity. I'm thinking about how well I did it in the fourth quarter of that game 2 years ago. I'm thinking about how well my last annual review went. I am deliberately managing the contents of my consciousness and giving myself a chance to be more physically relaxed, more in tune to what's going on.
I think what you just said is the definition of mental strength. Mentally tough people are not tough because they have no fear, are not tough because they never feel nerves. Mentally strong people, mentally tough people feel those nerves, feel when they're going into a sewer cycle, recognize they're doing it, just as Dr. Nate said, and say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm flushing it down the toilet. I'm envisioning a stop sign, and I'm switching modes, like I'm literally switching lanes into memories and activities and thoughts that work for me. That is mental strength. I think that's a big concern that people have is, and you address this in your misconception number 1. If I'm not born with it, I don't have it. No, mental strength is about learning how to ride and control those impulses. Did I get that right? I got really excited there. Did I get that right?
No, Vanessa, you got that beautifully. Again, the misconception is highly successful, highly confident, mentally tough people don't have moments of doubt, fear, and worry. This is a huge misconception. I don't care who you are. Bill Gates, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, name anybody you want. They will have their moments of, oh, I'm in trouble. This sucks, but they're very good at catching themselves and getting themselves back on the right track. Stop what you're doing, cope with what you got, take over your mind. And anybody can become better at that. And you may have to do it, I'm not exaggerating, 100 times a day. 100 times a day, you may have to acknowledge it, stop it, replace it. And as long as you keep doing that, you're in the fight. You've won the moment. There is no such thing as a all-encompassing, complete end of the war victory that you can win. There's no atomic bomb that you can drop on the enemy to end the war. It's this ongoing war of attrition, as one cadet so correctly described it. And you got to be willing to stay in the fight and win those little battles minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And by the way, your opponent, your competitor, they're facing the same thing too. They've got the same degree, the same quality, the same type of self-doubt that you do. So if you just do a slightly better job of acknowledging it, stopping it, replacing it, if you do a better job of that than your competitor, your opponent, then you create a certain advantage for yourself. And we have no idea how important an advantage that can be. So cultivate it.
Okay, I'm super inspired because it makes me feel like if you can do it 100 times a day, that gives you 100 opportunities, right? And so there's a quote that I loved in your book. And by the way, we're giving you the top line tips here. If you really want to dive into mental toughness, you must get the book. The book will walk you through all these things in great detail. I'm just trying to give us the steps to motivate you so that if you're feeling mentally weak or if you're feeling like you're lacking confidence, this kind of is the first like fire starter to get you there. I loved a quote that you had in your book, which was, quote, "Fall in love with your butterflies." Can you talk to me about that amazing quote? I like love it so much that I want you to make a shirt so that I can just wear it. So talk to me about that quote. And I think it's super inspiring for my folks who are listening. What does it mean?
Okay. Butterflies, that wobbly sensation in your stomach when you're about to do something that's kind of important, whether it's something that you really want to do and do well at, or it's something that you know you have to do and do well at. That wobbly sensation in your stomach is the result of your autonomic nervous system priming you for action, priming you for excellence in this moment of truth that you're about to enter into. We are, as human beings, hardwired to experience a surge in our sympathetic nervous system, the branch of our autonomic nervous system that energizes us. We are going to experience this in various levels, various forms, whenever we're about to do something that is unfamiliar, a little bit threatening, or even just important. You know, walking across the room to meet that VIP, walking across the room to introduce yourself to that very good-looking so-and-so, stepping up to the service line to serve, stepping up to that putt that might determine the outcome of your golf round. Anytime you are doing that, your body is going to understand that, hey, this matters, and it's going to elevate your level of arousal. So it's important that when the butterflies do kick in, you say to yourself, oh, this is cool. This is my body energizing myself, preparing me for this challenge. Isn't it nice that it does that? It's creating a biochemical shift. And now I have a state-of-the-art performance-enhancing chemical custom-made for my body that is circulating everywhere it needs to go at precisely the right moment and precisely the right dosage to prepare me to be great. And this is free. It doesn't cost me anything. And unlike other performance-enhancing drugs, it's legal. So you don't have to worry about getting busted for it. Now, like any performance-enhancing drug, like any performance-enhancing chemical, like any medication, there are side effects. There's side effects of this energizing process. And those side effects can take the form of a rather loud heartbeat, sweaty palms, little jitteriness in the hands, and indeed that fluttery sensation in your stomach. If you're feeling that, you got to tell yourself, hey, something magical's happened, something great. Thank you, body. So let's fall in love with this idea that our body prepares us to do something special by giving us this energy surge.
I love this reframe. Fall in love with your body, your butterflies. And what you just said is even more powerful, which is when you feel those butterflies, the sweaty palms, the beating heart, the dry mouth, say, thank you, body. Like, thank you, body. It's your body's way of trying to help. And that is incredibly empowering. So the other aspect of mental strength here is utilizing and reframing your body's natural response to help you and saying, yes, thank you, body. I got this. So that was very helpful for me because I used to sort of dread that feeling of anxiety. And then when I read your book, I was like, oh, that's actually, if I didn't have that, that's my body not giving me the chemical I need to excel. And that was like aha moment for me.
That's a great way to understand it. We often grow up with this idea that because we're not feeling normal, something must be wrong with us. I must not be prepared. I must not be ready because my stomach is wiggling around. If I was perfectly prepared, confident, ready to do this, I'd feel normal. No, not really. I don't know, having your annual performance review is not something that you do every day. It's not like filling your car up with gas or brushing your teeth. Stepping up to hit that putt for the championship, that's not something you do every day. That's not normal. Why would you expect to feel normal in these moments? It's just the way the animal that we are is designed to operate.
So there has been so many action steps in just this short video. I want to summarize some of them for our viewers. So first of all, save this video. If you're feeling really, if you have something big coming up, rewatch it, right? If you need to rewatch it, so save it if you need to rewatch it. Second is make a list of some of the sewer cycles that you have and some of the success cycles you want to have or better memories. Dr. Nate actually walks you through that in his book. I also want you to think about what are your triggers? Right? What are the places that you feel really strong? What are the places you don't? And that's okay. And also falling in love with your butterflies, whatever mental reminder you have to give yourself for that when you feel that anxiety of like, oh, this is actually working for me. That reframe is incredibly empowering. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience? I want to thank you so much for your time. Any other last minute words of wisdom?
Why don't you get in the habit of talking to yourself the same way you talk to your best friend when he or she is suffering or in trouble or has experienced a setback? I'm sure that every one of your listeners, Vanessa, would go up to their best friend and say, hey, you kind of messed that up. I know you didn't mean to. You're going to have to fix it, but I think you can fix it. And I'm here to help you. And let's get after it. You probably say that to your best friend. But do you say it to yourself? Do you give yourself that same degree of compassion, if you will, when you've made a goof? Or do you go to the other end of the spectrum and criticize yourself and beat yourself up and tell yourself what a jerk you are? Every time you do that, your sense of certainty about yourself drops a little bit. So if you want to actually make progress in the art and science of becoming a more confident individual, go ahead and start talking to yourself a little more compassionately. Go ahead and give yourself that same degree of, universal regard that you find natural to give to your best pal when he or she has just experienced a setback.
Wow, that was such a good way to end. Be more compassionate to yourself. Speak to yourself like you would your best friend. We can all give ourselves more kindness. I think that sometimes we have the mistaken idea that to be strong or to be tough, we have to be tough on ourselves. But actually being compassionate and loving for yourself is actually a much healthier way into mental strength and toughness. Please, please go buy the book, A Confident Mind. I absolutely loved it. Keep it on your bedside table. Save this video if you need it again. Dr. Nate, I want to thank you so much for being on with us.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Vanessa, for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, everyone, go take your steps. Put them below in the comments if you feel brave enough to share. And you got this. I believe in you. I want you to be mentally tough and loving and compassionate for yourself. And thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.
Are you living up to your full potential? Do you want more? I would love to help you. Get started with my free training and learn more about People School today. Visit scienceofpeople.com/P-School.